Hello. My name is Dakota Kuntz, and I want to answer a question today. How do I set up a gifted coaching session, the container for that? What do I do? What do I say? You're a coach, if you're watching this, you're a coach and you don't want to feel salesy or pushy. You also want the prospect to show up powerfully and get the most out of the session. And you struggle with how to talk about the gifted coaching session in a way that really creates value and invites commitment and just what the fuck do I do? This video is for you. So, before I have this conversation, there's always things that I do in advance. I get clear with the prospect in the discovery process of what is their desired future? What do they want? The clear reality of where they're at right now, what's in their way, and then we've already talked about the value of the outcomes they're looking to achieve. So like we've talked about, if they want to be happy, what would that be worth to them? What's the cost of them not being happy? Whatever. So at this point, we're on the same page of what they want and all the things I just listed. It's like, how do I create the container for a gifted coaching session? And this is what I do. This isn't the best way, this is the right way, but this works for me. So I start with a metaphor and I ask them a question. Have you ever been to the gym before? Normally it's a yes. Sometimes it's a no, but whatever. So I say, beautiful. Now, if you had an allotment of time and you knew that that time was free, how would you approach that gym session? And then they'll give their response, okay? Then I go, beautiful. Now, if you had an allotment of time and you knew that that gym session, that time that you were going to be there, was the equivalent of $275, how would you approach that time? What would be different? And I let them tell me. And I say, beautiful. Now, can I tell you how I might approach it? The free allotment of time, I'll show up and I'll be like, well, I need to get changed. I'm wearing my regular clothes, so I'll go to the locker room and I'll do that. Then she'll get out. And I'm like, man, what do I want to do today? What do I want to work on my chest, my calves? What would be good? I'll do chest. We'll start with that. So then I'm doing chest for a little bit. Maybe I run into a friend and I'm like, Bob, how the fuck you been? Bobby, what's up? And then we talk for a while. And then I'm like, oh, all right. And then I go to the next thing and I go to the next thing. And then eventually my time is complete. Okay. I did not think in advance what I was going to do that day. And, I did what I did. Now, if I'm going to go to the gym and I know that it's the equivalent of $275 for this allotment of time, the gym session does not start when I roll in. It starts a week in advance, meaning I'm thinking about what am I eating the 2 days beforehand so that my body's feeling good? Is my hydration where it needs to be? If I'm really going to push myself on Friday or Saturday when I'm going to the gym, what do I need to be doing now to make sure that it works? Okay, how long do I have? I have 2 hours, I have an hour, whatever. Okay, how many things can I get done in that time? What would be the most bang for my fucking buck? All right, I'm strategizing. Maybe I'm going to buy new shoes for running. Who knows? But it starts in advance, and I'm going to make the most out of that time. Does that make sense to you? Beautiful. There is a difference as far as the person who shows up to the free session versus the session that's the equivalent of $275. So, what I want to do for you is I'd like to offer you a gift. Now, the gift is the equivalent of $275. Now for you to, this is how much I charge for this gifted session. That's what my sessions are equivalent. It's 2 hours long and it's $275. That's not the right amount of money, that's just how I do it. But anyway, so I'm talking to the prospects and I say, beautiful, so that's how much I charge. And I want you to metaphorically think about, I'm writing a check, okay? And then I'm gonna mail it to you, and then you're gonna cash the check. That's the equivalent of what I'm gifting you. Are you clear on that? Does that make sense to you? And then they'll say whatever they say. And I'm like, beautiful. Now, there's gonna be some things that you're gonna do in advance before this session so that you're ready, but before we do that, I'd like to do another little metaphor. I fly across the country a lot, and I start in Denver. That's where I live, in Colorado, United States. And so when I leave Denver, I start here, the plane's here, and then it takes off and it goes in the air for a while, and then it eventually lands somewhere. Now, I'd like to get a really clear idea of where you want to start the plane of this session, and then eventually where you want to land. Now, we've talked about what you want already, but in your eyes, what would be the equivalent of $275? What do you want to talk about? And more importantly, where do you want to get to at the end of this session? And then I'll ask them. I ask them that, and they'll tell me what they tell me. Often they're not very clear. So, we'll explore together. What would be really worth that time? What do you want to get out? What do you want to walk away with? Regardless of us working together or not, who gives a shit about that? I want to give you this gift, and I want to figure out what you want to do with that. Okay? I might spend 15, 20 minutes just creating this container. As far as like the gym, and then writing the check, and then the plane. I'll spend a while doing that and really make sure that they're clear on it. Okay? Then, eventually, it's like, okay, beautiful. Now, so that you get the most out of this experience, I want you to do some agreements or do some homework in advance so that you're ready to do it. And whatever agreements you like to do, read a book in advance, do some journaling, whatever you want to do. But make sure there's clear agreements. And something that I've spoke about in another video is make sure you schedule the decision meeting, meaning after the gifted coaching session a few days later, make sure you schedule the decision meeting after. At the same time as scheduling the coaching session. So anyway, that's in another video. You can watch that if you'd like. Yeah, that's what I do. So gym metaphor, writing a check, plane, just getting clear on what do they want? Where do they want to land? Where do they want to get? And they understand what I'm gifting them. In my eyes, the discovery process is one of the most precious gifts that I can give somebody. A gifted coaching session is even higher than that. That's the reason I'm here on this earth. So, I like to make sure they're clear on that. Sending love. Have an amazing day.